And to start out with, if I do a polynomial like this, 5x to the third plus 2x plus 9, I want you to note that it is not an equation. You don't have an equal sign, so it's not an equation, it's just a function, an expression, and it's a polynomial. Poly means many, so it has many terms. It has 3 terms. That's called a monomial. You might know that prefix mono is for 1. If there are 2 terms, just like bicycle, this is a binomial because a bicycle has 2 tires. And if there are 3, like this one, this is specifically a trinomial. And once you get past that, if there are more, they just use poly for many. So it's a polynomial if there are more than 3 terms. Remember that terms are separated by plus or minus signs, so multiplication doesn't separate it. That is word degree. Degree of a term is the exponent on that term. The degree of the polynomial is the term with the highest degree. So you don't add them up. If the degree of this polynomial, this is a 3rd degree trinomial because it has 3 terms and the highest exponent is 3. If I gave you this is an example of a binomial because it has 2 terms. And it is a 5th degree binomial because the term with the highest exponent, the exponent is 5. What if I gave you this one? Alright, those are all being multiplied, so that's 1 term. So this is actually a monomial. So 1 term monomial. And then the degree of this, you have to remember that when there is no exponent, it's like you have a term. You have 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. So this is 4th degree. And like we said before, it is a binomial. It is a monomial because it has 1 term. Alright, so just being familiar with those, a little bit of vocabulary. And also you will see function notation, so sometimes instead of y you can see f of x, and I want to remind you that f of x is equal to y. It does not mean to multiply f by x. That's the one time parentheses don't mean multiply. And remember that you can see h of x or g of x, whatever they choose to call it. So they give you a polynomial in function notation, and they're going to call it p of x for polynomial maybe, and it looks like this: x squared plus 5x minus 6. And I think that in this section, because we are dealing with a polynomial, and this one is a polynomial equation because it has an equal sign. But then if they ask you to find, for example, p of 2, and this is review, so you should know that wherever you see an x, you're just going to plug in a 2. So I go to my equation and I have negative 2 squared plus 5 times 2 minus 6. And remember that you do exponents before multiply. So I go 2, positive 2 squared is 4, times the negative gives me negative 4, plus 10 minus 6. So combining those, we get 0. So I now know that p of 2 is 0. And as review, that might remind you that if x is 2, we know that y equals 0. So that's a point on this equation, on this function. Okay. Now, the main part of this homework is pretty simple. You'll like it. All you're going to be doing is simplifying polynomials. So for example, the first one they give you looks like this. (10x to the third minus 12x to the third minus 3x). And to simplify, all you have to do is combine like terms. Like terms them. So 10x to the third and negative 12x to the third are like terms. And so by combining them, all you have to do are add the coefficients. So we get negative 2x to the third minus 3x. And typically, they write polynomials in descending order. So the highest power to the lowest power. Now, they could add a little step and ask you to add or subtract. So let's try that. Let's say I give you 4x squared y minus xy squared plus 5, so that you know that we're adding it to this binomial. So we have a trinomial plus a binomial. And all you have to do are combine like terms. So first power. So all I do is combine their coefficients, and I get negative 2x squared y. Now, xy squared is the only one. There's no xy squared over here. So I will just write it down next. And then I can add 5 and negative 1, the constants. So I get plus 4. Now, the place where I'll see mistakes is in subtract. So let's do a couple of those. So just combining like terms, but when you see a subtract, what do you think will be the mistake? Look ahead and see if you can figure out what I'm going to say, and you'll never do it. The problem will be you have to subtract this whole polynomial. That means you have a sign. So maybe in your work you should write plus and then make it negative 9x to the fourth minus x squared plus 18. And I will either do that, or I'll use a second color and go plus negative negative positive. And you can see that those are equivalent now. The red is the same as that. So whichever way you like better. And then I'll just copy this one down without changing anything. And then we'll go ahead and combine like terms. So I can see an x to the fourth and an x to the fourth. So I combine the coefficients and I get negative 2x to the fourth. I see x squared and x squared. So I combine the coefficients and I get negative 9x squared. And here, there's no x to add. So, I forgot my close parentheses. There's no other x to add down plus x, because remember that we go in descending order, biggest to smallest. So that's a 1. So we'll write it. And lastly, we'll put our constant. Okay. Let's just do one more of those. How about this one? 7a squared b to the third minus ab squared. And we're going to take that binomial and subtract this trinomial. 3a squared b to the third minus 4ab squared plus 6a. So again, finding like terms, I can see a squared b to the third, a squared b to the third occurs twice. But the all-important step is that to plus the opposite and change every single sign. Don't forget to change every single sign. So now I have 7a cubed b cubed and negative 3a squared b cubed. So adding those together, I get 4a squared b cubed. Now I've got negative ab squared, and right here I have a 4ab squared. So combining those, I get 3ab squared. And that's all in that binomial. So now I just look here and see what I haven't done. And I haven't wrote down my minus 6a. And the key there is that you change the sign because you were subtracting it. And that's your answer. Done. And that's all they want is a polynomial expression for your answer. So it's kind of a good assignment. It's not too bad. So good luck with that.